Hey
Hi,
everyone.
everyone. Welcome to
Between
Between the Jones
us.
1.
That was good, we nailed it.
Kasey, this is really excited because I've been trying to get you on here for probably a year. Would you agree with that?
That's accurate.
That's accurate. So when you finally got on to this, I think I even sent you a what was that guy from?
Oh god, you're like mom right
Napoleon
now.
Dynamite. Napoleon Dynamite. I did send you a little image, but anyway, what's up?
Hey. Alright, so between us, what are we talking about here? Why are we here today, Jess? Tell us about your vision for wanting to talk about some stuff.
So I know that over the many years of us kind of coaching and playing, and I think just growing as an individual in life, and I think we should acknowledge to and preface this kind of our backgrounds a little bit and kind of how we collided into this. So I can start. I'll start a little bit. Well, I grew up playing sports. We grew up playing sports, and volleyball is kind of what took over in my life. I fell in love with it my freshman year of high school. Back then, we didn't have middle school.
When we started playing volleyball.
Yeah, well, we didn't have middle school volleyball. And anyway, so playing wise, I played in high school. We played 2 years of club, and then I went off to college to play. And then I eventually, after my indoor career, I went to beach volleyball. During that time, I also started coaching the sport of indoor volleyball, and eventually I did indoor and beach. And then through just the years, I think I realized I've been coaching and or playing for 24 years. And one of my last years of coaching, I started feeling like we were doing a disservice to our children between the politics, the egos, the parents, the kids. I walked away.
As a parent now yourself.
Yeah, as a parent now, I was really burned out. I hated going into the gym, and I needed some time away from everything to kind of reflect, to see what's going on. And it just so happened during that time period, I decided to go back to get my master's, as you know, to be an LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor. And that really opened up my eyes to an individual, not always suffering, but just going through a lot of trials and tribulations in life. And I think a lot of times we treat the athlete as a person just on the court, and we forget about everything that's happening outside of the court. And so I really wanted to bring those spaces together for me. And then you and I talk all the time. And so when I know like our conversations, we've had a lot of past experiences. I mean, I know you have with college. You've had a lot of experiences with your coach. And the more that we were talking about, I'm like, "Hey, we should really just bring this to other people that are probably going through the same thing, and or maybe want some guidance because we've been there. We've been the player, we've been the coach, we've been the just human being of
Mm.
pain, trauma, mistakes, experiences, all that."
Yeah, I think it's great to hear from female athletes too, because a lot of the noise is coming from a lot of male athletes, and I just think there's a lot of overlaps and things they're dealing with too. But and maybe we're getting off topic, but the way we coach is, I think, for like the male athlete, and the way we coach female athletes is should be a little bit different. Maybe not. I don't know.
No, there's a really good saying, "Boys play
To bond.
to bond, and girls bond to play."
Yeah.
And that is very true, and I will say, because 'cause I'm back in the coaching space with my 2 kids, and, Taj is a boy, so I'm coaching a boys team, and Ruby's a girl, and I can 1,000% see that difference. So I think there are a lot of similarities, and I think there's a lot of differences as well.
Yeah.
So before we kinda dive into what we wanted to talk about, which, is why you shouldn't do physical punishment to learn a sport, tell us about your background, kind of, and with your art, because I think that also aligns with us.
Yeah, for sure. Pretty similar childhood. Grew up in a household with all athletes, competitive athletes. We did sports year round from like the age of 5 until college, pretty much. And was competitive all the way through high school. We were pretty high levels in high school. Club wasn't really an opportunity for us until junior, senior year. But yeah, I went off to college.
We should say with swimming, we were really big swimmers and we were the Jones sisters.
Yeah, so we were multi-sports athletes, which I think is also really important and why we succeeded as much as we did, I think was due to that, being versatile athletes. So yeah, swimming year round, volleyball year round eventually, and then tennis for me, I got really into tennis. And then it was tennis
Right.
and volleyball that I played in college. A very short career that ended, due to some kind of negative mental abuse that was happening, and then just kind of continued to play. I wouldn't say as competitively as you, but, when we moved out to California, we were playing, beach volleyball tournaments and just trying to, like, play as much as we can because we're lifelong athletes. But simultaneously, we were just talking earlier, what is life like after volleyball? Like life goes on beyond the courts. And, for me, that was my art career as an artist, professor as well. So I did, pursue my higher educational route, went more the arts. Went back to Maryland and now we're back in Ohio. Where, my experiences as a mother, my experience in higher education, I've got the opportunity to coach at Hocking College, and I
Where you
started to kind
asked
of
me, like, be your assistant.
yeah, but and, that's kind of there in my early 30s is where I really started to recognize similarities to what I went through as an athlete that I was still seeing being done in the coaching sphere. And then I went on to coach for a local club. This experience was still a very negative experience as far as the culture that was being created and being built
That's a big one.
in the volleyball world. And then that's kind of what, like, the impetus of why I started my own club, Athens Elite Volleyball, which is now I'm kind of leaning into the entrepreneur side of my career, being like a club owner and director.
And you should also note that your daughters were playing.
Correct. Yeah, my daughters have found a joy in the game, a love for the game, and at least with Athens Elites, I want them to be a part of the positive culture and community that I think can happen in a volleyball setting, but not always because again, we're kind of coming back to these old school coaching mentalities that kind of breed like these negative behavior patterns.
Yeah, they're like, I had so many old coaching patterns, or just the coaches that said, "Well, my coach taught me like this, so it has to be the best way or the right way," or "I turned out fine," which, you know, did you though?
But it's getting so out of control that it's starting to seep into the parent mentality too, and the way parents are treating athletes, children. and other parents. So it's kind of we're kind of in like this repetitive loop and cycle of just some negative behaviors that have been happening in a place that's supposed to be positive and nourishing. Like you're on the court exercising essentially.
And I should start like we really should start off with saying we're not perfect. Like we've been there. I've made plenty of life choices that were not the best, and I've grown from that. So I think it's really important for anyone who kind of is listening. We've probably done at some point maybe something you've done, and we have now reflected on it and been like, what was that about? Why did I do that? And kind of going down that rabbit hole of maybe the decisions that we made 20 years ago and why we're so just more educated. I think a lot of it is education, like doing the work yourself, doing intentional work and wanting to be more aligned with your vision, your purpose, or maybe even like with your children, how you want them to behave and act.
And it comes down to those training habits. So you can train on the court, physical skill, but and I think this is why we come full circle. You can also train on the court like the mental side, which I think is kind of like the focus of why we're doing this, why we're coming together between two Joneses to increase awareness of why the mental side is just as important because it's
If
teaching
not
you,
more.
if not more, yeah, because it's training you, you're using whatever sport you're playing as like the platform to kind of practice all these life skills, which is really increasing your emotional intelligence, I believe.
And we will at some point get into our emotional intelligence because firsthand I was I don't want to say out of control, but I was so competitive and I was angry and I didn't really have the resources or the mentors to just guide me through what was going through my personal experience. And so I'm actually excited to talk about that one when we get to that point because I've learned over the years of just going back to how people repeat patterns and behaviors and how we can do a better job as adults, mentors, coaches to create really healthy and positive habits.
Yeah. And I think
Which lead
testing it through sports is like a really great transfer of knowledge. So let's lead us to
Yeah, which leads us into and I just did a post about this, as you know, why physical punishment doesn't help you learn a sport. John Kessel, I mean, if you don't know John Kessel, he's been a part of USA Volleyball forever. He's been in the volley world for years. You met him.
John.
Yeah, you met him where at was it the Final Four?
We did in Kansas City. He administered our Cap 1 certifications.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's him, John Browning, and then Mary, she was shoot, I can't remember her
Mary
name.
Wise.
Yeah.
She used to be the head coach at University of Florida.
No, it wasn't her, it was another woman. I'll have to find the name, but and that was transformative because I just changed the way I thought about the game after working with John Kessel.
Yeah, he's so knowledgeable and he writes in a way that we can understand, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and if you don't
So,
know John, hang on, let me pull up here.
yeah, I'm going to add some links too for anyone that wants some knowledge. There he is.
He wrote
Is
he
that him in
wrote
the
the book.
background? Oh yeah.
Yeah, here's him. He's a little bit younger here, but he wrote the book on youth volleyball.
I wonder if we have to get can we post you?
But yeah, maybe we'll have to tag him and be like, "We love you, John."
Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
All right, so before I run this down, kind of I wrote some why we shouldn't. Tell us about your experience, any experience about when you did something or you and I really don't like the word mistake because it's like you're learning. like you are
Right.
learning something. But when that didn't go the right way and your coach either yelled at you, made you run sprints, I mean, I feel like you already have some stories with,
I
I
know.
won't say her name, but a coach.
I think it makes me focus on the wrong things, and that's what I noticed in those moments. I would just get angry.
Yeah, how did it make you feel?
Yeah, I would get angry, and then I would start focusing on the anger, and then, like, it just pulled me more away from, like, the focus on the skill that I was trying to perfect and, like, do really well. So I think for me, like, dissociation started happening. I started to, like, disassociate and, like, separate myself from the 2 so that I could mentally withstand the physical punishment that was happening.
I'm gonna do my best not to. I mean, we can tell people where we went to school. We can. I won't use any names. Like, I won't, like, I'll respect, not that I'll respect that boundary, but so I went to school for college. I started at both Division I schools, Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. And then I transferred down to FIU, Florida International University in Miami, Florida. I remember this one time at OU, I'm pretty sure it was a serving drill, or I know we were serving, and we had to all get a serve over, like one serve over the net for us to be done with, like the whole team. And this particular day, we just couldn't do it. And our coach at the time, we would have to run sprints. And I even think we had to do some push ups. We had to do some like arm work. And we couldn't do it. And like looking back on it now, it's like, of course we couldn't do it. We were exhausted. Like I remember my arm was just so tired, like fatigued. I'm the same with you. Like I would just get angry, confused. Like, I get confused a lot because there wasn't dialogue. It was just get on the line. Madness. There was like a lot of just anger within our coaches. You could see it on their face. So, and I think a lot of kids, actually, I know a lot of kids feel that way. It can be really embarrassing. And fact and point, one of my last club volleyball tournaments or club teams that I coach, we were in Orlando, Florida at one of the qualifiers. And I kid you not, it was during the club tournament. And I think there was like a couple mistakes that happened. The the coach, the head coach, who was a man, young, who was a young man, called a timeout and had the girls literally run sprints back and forth for the timeout.
I've seen that. I've seen that
Have you
recently
seen
too.
it?
Oh, yeah.
And you look at, I mean, I feel like you have to look at the kids, and if you look at the kids, going back to, like, they're embarrassed, some were crying, some had their head down, and it's like, what message are you sending other than you are you're mad, you're impatient, and you're so driven by your ego right now?
Well, and it's instilling a negative feedback loop as well, which can be hard to break as you age into adulthood.
And
That's why we hear some athletes be like, "I need you to yell at me." You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then they just
I've heard that, like, one of the last times I coached, and I looked at her, she's an 18-year-old, and I honestly, my first reaction was, "How sad. How sad that you have been instilled to think," this is the big one, "to think that you have to be yelled at in order to do something."
in order to
I just
be productive.
Yeah, like, just what a sad thought that motivation had to come from a person screaming at you.
Well, that's an external motivation.
That's right.
And we were your post yesterday, I love that because internal motivation, I think is like igniting internal motivation from someone has to come from like a positive reinforcement method.
Well, and it's like, I want like, now that I'm back in the coaching space, I want my athletes to like me. Like, that's how you form trust. That's how you form a bond. That's how mentoring, that's how that should look. And going back to a lot of old school, I have to be hard on you. And I don't agree. I think you can be firm and still loving and still teaching and still like I think you can still do all these things. And
And still be like really competitive, like a shark on the court or the water, wherever you're swimming or performing, I mean. Like
yeah,
you can still be a really fierce competitor and not have like that external like negative noise coming at you.
right. So I was just going to kind of touch on some key points,
Can you
like to share it. I can't because that's going to take too much time just because it's on my Instagram, but we'll add it.
okay.
But here are kind of just some things with going back to what we said about, and like, let's also say this. We're not saying not to do strength and conditioning or exercises to the sport that you're coaching. Like, you absolutely should. Set that apart though. Put that
Absolutely.
apart from the actual teaching. But here, fear shuts down learning.
100%.
Skills, so to learn something, and I go back to like this simple, like riding a bike. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anyone, if a kid falls down, the parents like, get on the side of the street and run down to the stop sign and run back and then get back on your bike and try it again. No, what did they say? Okay, you fell. What did you learn? Maybe you were kind of a little bit with your handlebars. You weren't balanced. Get back on your bike. So skills require mistakes. Like, they require trial, error, adjustment. This is a
And I
bit
think the bike analogy though, that's tough because we're not in a competitive realm. So I think once we get into the competitive realm and we're inside the game, we're in the magic circle space of the game, right? So some of my game history knowledge is going to come through here in game theory. I think that is worth noting because the dynamic does shift a little bit.
so elaborate on that.
Well,
Like, what do you mean?
I would say some old school coaches would say once you get into the competitive realm, you do have to like punish and you do have to be hard on them for them to learn,
You
right?
have to, yeah.
Yeah. And I think
And
that's it's in the space right now where we're at. We're trying to like push back on that a little bit.
yeah, it's like, I go back to, I didn't need my coach, and, like, this goes back to just intrinsic motivation, like, where does your motivation come from? Don't you think that, like, your motivation should come from you? Like, if I'm doing something, I wanna be doing it for me. And,
Right.
it does go back to, like, the posts and other people that have shared this. When you start doing things for other people, that should be the main focus. It shouldn't be an external motivation. You should be
Right.
doing something from within.
Yeah. Cause then you remove that external motivation and then you're just left with you at the end of the
Right.
day.
And, like, going back to the punishment, like, another reason why I would get upset is I'm, like, the first one in the gym. I'm going to the gym after we lose. So, I
Right.
never needed this. It just, again, going back to, like, the confusion of it all, because I had that drive. I had that drive. And for kids that maybe didn't have that motivation, you still are teaching them and learning them. Because getting into the next one, well, I have a couple more, but stress ruins coordination. And then going back to what we just said, punishment, it kills motivation. And I'll say it right here. The brain learns best when dopamine is involved. So reward, progress, enjoyment. Physical punishment replaces motivation with anxiety and resentment.
Mhm.
Like, I couldn't agree more. I had
Yeah,
more of the resentment. What did you have?
I think I had, like, the fear and anxiety, like, didn't wanna go. I didn't wanna go to practice anymore.
Which leads to burnout.
Yeah, and I think that's what when I ended up transferring to OU, um, from Capital, that's when I was just, like, utterly burned out, and think I stopped playing. Well, no, because I played on the club team through, but, like, after that, when we moved to California originally, I remember just, like, really wanting to take a break, and I wasn't even exercising or anything, I was doing nothing.
So you were like, would you say you were depressed? Like, were you sad? Were you just, did your body shut down?
No, my body no, I just felt just physically tired. Like, I had put so much of my energy into, like, being an athlete that I just felt like I needed to put energy into something else.
When I left, I mean, you know my experience at FIU, my body like shut down. Like I was probably depressed for sure with like what happened there. Okay, let's move on. It doesn't teach what to do, which it doesn't. But like for example, I'm coaching an 8-year-old, 9-year-old girls right now, girls volleyball team indoor. So when they miss a serve, and if I were to have them go to the end line and do 10 sprints and then get back on the service line, I didn't teach them anything. I didn't teach them, to have a, bow and arrow, left foot forward, all the cues that we use. It was just go run and come back.
Right,
So I'll read this because I like what it says. Pain only teaches what not to do. Learning requires feedback, repetition, and clear instruction, not fear.
right. And I think that that's crucial too, especially observing how coaching has been done in our area and watching River be coached by other people, that instruction is not clear. And a lot of the times it comes down to a lack of education around how to coach volleyball specifically, since, that's where we're at right now. Because a lot of the times we were just getting parent volunteers into those positions.
Yeah, which
And
same
now
here.
And now we're seeing more, like, experienced coaches in these roles, and, with Gold Medal Square coming out and all this science-backed data and, like,
They're
approach to
amazing, by the
they're
way. Love them.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, you can't that's clear feedback, that's clear communication. I love how they break it down to keys, keeping it really simple because if you're not getting that clear feedback, you're just going through the motions and continuing to kinda learn it incorrectly. And so your brain's wiring and firing, through the wrong keys sometimes, which can make our job a lot harder too in the end when you have to relearn and rewire those pathways.
And I think it's important to say that every athlete, every child learns differently. So, what you say to one of your girls, it may not resonate with their teammate. And so, it's really important to find the right cues or maybe visuals to help guide them through those steps of what they're learning that day. Well, and finally, here it says trust matters. Athletes learn best when they trust their coach or environment. Punishment, on the other hand, it breaks trust. It reduces communication and leads to hiding mistakes.
Hiding mistakes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
See, that's true.
it's so funny too because when we're talking about this, it's like, of course, when you put like separate yourself and you see it,
Mhm.
coaches yelling and having them they're punishing their kids or having them do push-ups or sit-ups. It's really hard to watch it's just really hard to watch because you can see the athlete spiral down.
Yeah.
You really do. Do you have, can you think of anything? Because I know you just got into your club season. Has any of this kind of been brought to your attention by other coaches or other athletes?
What, yelling?
Well, I guess, like, what have you instilled for your club when it comes to punishment running sprints?
Well, I'm really glad you asked because at our coaches, we have a coaches training. Just got that cough. Really good soundbite there, Sky.
Nice guy.
No, I very much so make a point to say that to my coaches. We don't yell here. We use positive feed forward, as John likes to say, feed forward feedback, I guess, because he likes to say feed forward instead of feedback. So always just like teaching them, like training their eye to really see how they're performing each mechanic, each core mechanic. And, when I said that to them, they're like, "Oh, that's so good to hear because I don't respond well to coaching. And when I was an athlete, my coach yelled at me and we're not doing that." So they're all kind of in alignment with how I want to run things and establish the culture.
Well, and I think so. I think this could be a great also because I'm all about now knowing what I know, like the how to. So, like, how can coaches work on when they get impatient, when their athletes are doing something that the coach doesn't see? What are some things that coaches can do
Yeah.
to help that or to maybe reassess what's going on?
Help
I'll
them
let you.
manage those frustrations that come through because they do inevitably come through. You get frustrated because you got pressure, external pressures to win, right? Which can affect coach performance, which is another thing I think we need to talk about and discuss. Because the coaches are people too,
Right.
and we see a lot of abuse of coaches. I think 100%.
So many. Like, I mean, I've been watching some clips of like basketball coaches and soccer and
It's not an easy job.
no.
So I think, just starting at the grassroots level, like kind of how we are is a good start. And we're going to be influencing those who are in our immediate surroundings, and hopefully it'll snowball out and become the norm. There's a lot of work to.
I think so. I know when I start getting frustrated as a coach, I know I will. So let's say I have a grill game like drill and it's not going as I wanted it to. I will maybe just stop doing it. So let's say we were trying to get to 10 for whatever reason and we
Right.
were only getting to like 5. Now I'm happy with 5 and this is our start into like the next. So I guess I've definitely here's a big one, adjusted my expectation in real time. So I can have it my game plan, my practice plan and have the ability that it may not be what I have on paper.
Right.
So I think that's a big one for coaches is adjusting in real time your expectation.
It's like improvisation. It's
Yeah,
like, all right, I got to
especially in practice.
Yeah.
Another how is I may do another like, I might go to a game or we take a break. We kinda and that's kind of like our reset,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
then
playing.
maybe eventually come back to it. Or I might even just be like, "You know what? This is crap. I need to I need to, because of the dynamic of, because every team is different, I might just change that game entirely,
Mhm.
and that's okay.
We got a lot of things we gotta discuss. Alright, do you have any more on your, punishment?
No, but the bottom line is, and I'm gonna read this, the brain cannot learn complex physical skills while being threatened.
No.
And that's essentially what punishment is. Get on
Yes,
the end line. I'm gonna yell at you. Sit out. Those
right.
are threatening things for a child and adults.
And their
Strong
brains.
athlete Good. I'll finish. Strong athletes aren't built through punishment. They're built through smart training and supportive coaching. And I'll leave it at that for today.
That sounds good. I like that. Okay, so this concludes our first episode 1.
And I will say we're not just talking about volleyball here because we bring a lot of experiences.
Yeah, no, this can apply, like, across many disciplines.
Yes. Okay, I hope this resonates with one
We
person.
hope.
I really do, because I would love to see, specifically with volleyball gyms, being a more positive space for people. And that goes for parents, coaches, athletes, referees alike.
Yep. Alright, stay
Thanks,
tuned for
everybody.
next time.
See you next week. All right, bye, Case.
Bye.